Welcome to Who's Your Mother podcast, where we discover who we are as souls and mothers through Reiki, spirituality, and healing. Hi, I'm Carolina, your host and Reiki master. I'm so very excited you're here today, and let's get started. Hi, welcome to Who's Your Mother podcast. I'm Carolina, your Reiki master and womb healer, and your host. Today we have a very special guest, my dear friend, Haley Rogers. And she is one of the rarest things that you'll ever find. A spiritual business coach that is just life-changing. I've booked so many sessions with her, and just her wisdom has just changed my business and my life. And I'm so blessed that you're here, Haley. And I'm just so glad that I can call you my friend and that you're here. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this podcast. I'm so excited just to have this conversation with you today. And as you have already introduced me, like you said, I am a business coach and a human design expert because I really do believe in combining the woo, really understanding yourself intimately with the strategy. You know, you have to have both to be able to create a business and even a life for that matter in alignment with who you are. So that's something that I know we both believe very deeply in, is not forcing yourself where it's just not working, right? Like there's always signs, there's always your inner voice that we're meant to follow. And when we do, that creates so much more alignment in really any aspect of your life.
I love that. I didn't discover human design until probably when I got on TikTok, and then simultaneously you had, like, it happened all at once. And I've always followed your page, and we know each other for a while, and we're both based here in the Omaha area. So, but when I got on TikTok, I think I got on TikTok and didn't do much with it in 2020. But I just kept seeing like all these signs about human design. But I don't think I fully dived into it and like bought a book until 2021. And I've never looked back. Can you talk about like, so what led you to human design? Like, because you haven't always been a human design expert. You've like started off with like, as an entrepreneur, you started off with like weren't you an organizer? Like a professional organizer?
Yeah, that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. So we have taken quite the pivot. But I actually love that question because it was such a, you know how you said that you were seeing the signs about it and like the synchronicities that you needed to learn about this spiritual tool. Well, the same thing happened for me, except for I think it was a little bit more obvious because I was kind of in a panic mode. So I'll set the scene for you.
Sure. It is a good story.
What's that?
I love a good story.
Oh yes, that's what we're here for. So I'm going to set the scene. 2020. March, April, obviously we are all in the middle of a pandemic. I, at the time, am working a 9-to-5. I have my business, which at the time I was really focusing more on the productivity aspect of business coaching. So that was kind of my niche at the point. And then I find out that I'm pregnant with my youngest at the time. So it was like the perfect storm for this red flag that something needed to change in my business and in my life. I knew that I could not keep running myself into the ground, that as a mother, this was not going to serve my family. As a business owner, this wasn't going to serve my clients to keep continuing at this pace that I was going in my business, right? We all have this balancing act in life. And I realized that something had to give. And then in true synchronicity, I had this friend message me and she said, "Hey, I just found I'm a projector. What are you?" And at the time I'm thinking, a what? Like, what are you trying to sell me? What is this that we're talking about? I had never heard of human design up until this point. And so she gave me this quiz to take. Sure enough, I found out I am a projector, which is one of the 5 energy types you can be. And then I just dove into it because what I found out was this wasn't just your run-of-the-mill personality assessment. This isn't just like, Myers-Briggs or Enneagram. This is truly how you're best meant to share your energy and gifts with the world, which my translation, like the translation that I perceived it as, was this is my blueprint for running my business a little bit more efficiently, for not running myself into the ground anymore. So as soon as I realized that it was like this guidebook essentially for me, I took it and ran with it.
Wow. I am too a projector, and I love that. I tell people that you're my secret weapon in business because, or even personally, like I should probably rephrase that, but because basically the human design chart, because what basically we're saying is like you get a chart from the human design and it's particularly made for you, but it also like tells you details about that are very validating for like, are you a planner or not a planner? And that usually comes down to that bottom right arrow on how you manifest, and just like, or how do you, why is like somebody, like my voice is really important to me and my tone is really important. And also how that plays out in relationships has been really, really telling and very powerful information for me to know to move forward with on how to better my relationships and particularly avoid conflict, or even like just be very cognizant of my tone when I am communicating based upon my gates and channels and all the things. So just knowing all of that has been just allows me to be more effective in situations, both personal and professional. So tell me, can you break down exactly what human design is, and how does somebody do that? Is there a fee for the chart? Where would they go? That kind of thing?
Yeah, great question. So human design, I am not going to give you like the technical explanation because it's basically just a bunch of different spiritual modalities put together as this amazing tool for self-awareness. So just think of it as a self-awareness tool. But when we're talking about types and charts and some of the language that we've been using so far, this is all within your body graph. And that is completely free for you to look up. There's a couple of my favorite sites are mybodygraph.com and Jovian Archive, both completely free. Yeah, both completely free. You just need to know your date of birth, the time, as close as possible to when you're born, and your location. All of that information gives you this completely unique body graph chart that is going to reveal so much about your natural tendencies and gifts.
I think I've run into some instances, like I use this in my own fertility membership. I just taught this actually a couple of weeks ago, 2 Wednesdays ago, to my membership, because knowing like what energy type you are is just really pivotal, is really critical on knowing like when you're out of alignment and knowing how to manifest, but also to your energy type. So you and I are both projectors, and I always love that you're the same energy type with me, because it just allows you to convey information, or even you've lived it probably. But knowing your energy type allows you also to know like how much rest you need, or tendencies. A lot of the clients I'm working with are generators. I find that super interesting. It's hard for me to relate because they're the worker bees of the world. What is the percentages? Like, what's the most common energy type that you've encountered?
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that you are working with a lot of generators, because statistically speaking, the majority of the population are generators. They come in roughly at about 40% of the population. So if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you're a generator, or the second most common is manifesting generators. They are going to be that combination of manifestors and generators, coming in at about 35%.
We're both married to manifesting generators.
Yes, we are. So that, and even that is powerful information, because you're like, why are they not like me? Why do they do things in such a roundabout way when you and I as projectors can see things so clearly and so very methodical? Whereas, manifesting generators just have a different way of doing things. Nothing's right or wrong. It's just different. And at least having that knowledge can allow you to take that step back and realize, okay, they're not wired like me, and that's okay.
It was really great. You came up with a course on how to be productive by your energy type.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched the modules for my husband.
Yes.
And I was like, so because we both work from home, our lives are so different because of the pandemic. We both work from home. I'm self-employed. He's a writer for a company here in Omaha. And it's easier for me to like support him emotionally in our marriage because I know what is based upon his energy type, being very cognizant of like what he needs to be to feel fulfilled and happy and balanced versus like and I always ask him, I was like, what are you feeling right now? Because I'm always looking for the frustrated emotion. And when he says I'm frustrated, I'm like, okay, you're out of alignment. But it's been slower for him to learn the human design. He's open to it, but he's not as woo as I am. But he's like, well, what do you think I should do? I'm like, what exactly is lighting you up out of the list of things you need to do today? And he says, well, this. I was like, do that now so you feel happy and you feel like the most important thing so that you can feel ready enough to go do the less happy thing, the more mundane routine thing that you have to do the thing that is going to bring you the most joy so you have enough motivation to complete your task. But we didn't know that until like we went through your course and everything. And also knowing for me that I need a lot of breaks. I need a lot of naps. So like I now am very unapologetic about naps as a projector. Thank you.
As you should be. I'm glad to bring nap time back to your schedule. But no, it really can be not only validating, but I think it's the permission slip that everyone needs just to be themselves. So chances are your husband probably already knew that he wanted to do the things that lit him up. But, traditional productivity and just guidance that we receive is, eat the frog or tackle the thing that needs it first. And that just doesn't work for everyone's style. We all have unique ways of working, and it's nice to be aware of it and then take that permission slip when you need it.
I feel like this is like, because the pandemic happened, it opened it opened up so many things within our worlds that could benefit from change and people having that time out, that pause when we had like different lockdowns and, businesses were closed, like that evaluation and that time out, like just, and then having, the Great Resignation has just changed like so many things. And just the way we work is being questioned. And I think that's so powerful for workers, for humans, for just everyone on every level. And then to know your design, you can be very productive from working from home versus like when I worked in corporate, all of these men, because there's very few women in management, said, no, you have to come in the office to be productive because I need to be able to see you to work. Versus like, I am so productive now, the more I've learned from systems and all the things now, like I can get my work done in like 2 hours and it's infinitely much faster than I have ever done before. Also, I think becoming a mom makes you, for me in particular, I am much faster because I have shorter periods to work in. It's crazy how much work I get done now versus before I had Ollie. So different, different.
Biggest productivity hack, have a kid.
Can you tell me about maybe how human designs affected your parenting?
Yeah. So I love what you've already said about it, is that when you have kids, you're kind of forced to figure out what is essential, right? And get the rest. Because that's like the biggest productivity hack, just have a kid or two, and then you have to figure out what's essential. But, how it's really affected my motherhood journey, that's a good question, because as I mentioned, I didn't discover it until a little bit further in my parenting journey. At this point, I had already been a stepmom for quite a few years. And then I had a toddler at the point. And I think it was really eye-opening for me to realize that I didn't have to do it all. So as we've already alluded to, projectors do not have as much energy as the rest of the world. And so we constantly see moms doing it all and almost wearing like being busy as a badge of honor. And that's not a badge of honor that I want to be wearing personally. And I don't think anyone
Not
should.
anymore.
Not anymore. Mm-hmm.
I want to know now, if I do anything in my business, if I do that, what outcome am I going to get from it? Like, what's my return on the investment of time?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the first thing is like, I'm not doing long essays on Instagram anymore unless it's going to convert or get somebody. What's the return on investment or fulfillment for me really is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, same thing with business. And then as being a parent, realizing that I didn't have to do it all. I didn't have to be the Instagram mom or the Pinterest mom. And that was such a relief and like weight off of my shoulders, and then you throw another kid in there and that's not even an option anyways, because who has the time? But I think that's the biggest way it's affected my motherhood journey, along with being really confident in my own decisions, being able to trust myself. I think we all have this inner wisdom that a lot of times we just shove down because of society and, advice that's just getting shoved down our throats. When really, I think we all know what's right for us, whether it comes to parenting or even making personal decisions, we all have that guidance within us. And so that's probably then the biggest impact is stepping into my own power of like, yes, I know what I'm doing. I know what decisions to make.
That's so powerful. A lot of the clients I work with, I have to teach them to trust themselves again.
Yes.
Because they have been, oh my gosh, I don't even know if emasculated is the word, like, because we both have divine feminine and divine masculine in us both, but like they've been so degraded in some way by so many different people, so many different touch points that it's hard even to pinpoint which one to do first. But it's basically like your inner voice is the voice you need to listen to most, because you matter, and convincing them that their instincts are trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think so that you having that is just so wonderful. And you once told me in a session, like you knew the types of your children, like the energy types. And once you told me that, I looked up what my son was, and I had found that advice so life-changing. I sound like a broken record, life-changing. But really just having the information and these so many aha moments that have happened because of this modality in combination with Reiki and just all the other things I know spiritually has just been like another flashlight and like shining in different areas and connecting, and the layers of wisdom from one modality to the next is so beautiful to collect as a soul. In that way I can get to know myself better. But my son, Ollie, he's 5, is the same as me. He's a self-projected projector.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when I sat with that for a while, but knowing that human design, it's allowed me to parent him in a different way than I did before. And that is recognizing, we try to do attachment, gentle parenting, yada, 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 but more of like, what can I do to recognize him as a eternal learning, like, because as a projector, you're absorbing and studying all the time. And you're collecting things. So like how I have had to like check myself instead of like, preschoolers, you just tell them what to do all the time. But like for him, and that would result in a lot of tantrums. I'd be like, okay, can you tell me what you're feeling right now? And just always going back to like that connection and seeing like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking that we should do? So just honoring that as a self-projected projector, sorry, that's a lot, is like the inner voice, and what you have to say is like the most important thing to understand. And then saying it is, because that is like the biggest piece in my opinion. So making sure that he feels like he has a voice and it matters, and helping him develop that skill to express himself has been really, really great. Because this, once he started to feel heard, and that became like, we actually have like we'll call family meetings,
Mhm.
and I'll say, okay, so do you need to call a family meeting? And he goes, and we'll sit down and he'll speak and he'll share, I felt this, and everyone gets a turn. And then, but he usually goes first so that he can feel like why this is not working in our home, or but having him develop his voice actually reduced our tantrums and allowed us like feel a deeper closeness than I have felt in years. Not that we weren't close, but like I hadn't felt that closeness since probably he was a newborn. So that's how human design affected, I don't know, getting to know Ollie better.
How lucky is he that you have this awareness of how he operates and what he needs to feel validated and heard? I mean, that's amazing. Well, you already have so many gifts that you can share with him as a parent between your Reiki and your spiritual gifts. But wow, just adding that level of understanding really can up level, I think, as you already said, your parenting and the level of closeness, because I feel the same way. It's so funny because my 4-year-old is the same design as I, which is an emotional projector. So we're kind of layering in those emotional waves that, to be honest, my husband doesn't quite understand because he doesn't have that authority. He's not used to experiencing those waves for no reason at all. And being able to say, no, that's just normal. He's meant to experience this range of emotions for no reason. I think that has been so powerful for us just as a family unit.
Yeah, it's also allowed me to relax a lot with my decision making, with like big decisions. Like we have explored a lot of different educational opportunities for Ollie to go to kindergarten in. We've looked at private, we've looked at religious schools, and we looked at public school, we looked at homeschooling. And I've always kept it in the forefront of my mind is this is not about me, it's what's best for Ollie, and he'll always let me know what's best for him. We recently did kindergarten roundup on Friday, and he was kicking and screaming anytime that I would tell him that we were going, and I would prep him. I don't ever surprise him with anything. I was like, but I promise I wouldn't take you to any place that I didn't feel was safe for you. And his daycare teacher had told him about homeschooling. He's like, gosh, mommy, it'd be so great if you're my teacher. And we have done some homeschooling because we've done about 4 bouts of quarantining as he's been exposed to COVID during a daycare and stuff. So we do have some things in place to keep structure in our home when he's home for 2 weeks at a time. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, I don't know if I'm cut out to be your mother and your teacher. So let's explore this public school option. That's really fantastic. But let's just see. So he went and he loved it. And he's very blunt and as his mother. But it was really great because we actually went to lunch and he was telling me, he goes, I think that I like this because there's more friends there. And I feel like he's telling me I feel, not I think, I feel he goes, I feel happier when, and you know, in 5-year-old terms, I feel happier when I'm around more kids. I said, I think so too. So like allowing, and this takes healing and space and capacity to do. It's not like when I'm triggered, I can't hold space well for him. And I go into like a different, like I have to step away, but like these are like ideal circumstances, but like he told me what he wanted to do and I had the ability to recognize, okay, he chose it. So I don't always have to make these hard parenting decisions, or I don't have to make the decisions harder. I just need to be open to hearing his inner voice in his 5-year-old way. And everyone who's listening, take this with a grain of salt. Like I'm not letting my kid like make hard life decisions, but like if we have options and it comes down to his happiness and his schooling, and this is a good option and also a great option equally, and he's happier in this scenario, he definitely gets an input. So
Absolutely. I love that you're able to listen to that, not only know what his authority or decision-making ability is, but then you're able to listen to that, because I've had clients who have generator or manifesting generator children. And as soon as they know that, okay, they're making decisions from their sacral center, I should be paying attention to that very visceral, like yes or no answer. It then made it so much easier to trust their decision-making abilities, their children's decision-making abilities, and knowing that, okay, if my daughter's really lit up about this, then that's the right thing for her to do. That's what she's meant to follow. And I think just having that knowledge and awareness can be so powerful in starting to trust your kids and let them be who they're meant to be.
oh yes, like just we actually is so funny what a powerful weekend it's been. We actually went to swim school. We were doing like swimming lessons a year ago, and he would have an entire meltdown before we left the house. But once we got to the place, he was fine. And it was just really difficult for him to like leave the house. He wanted to go to school and come home. And he's still that way, but doesn't throw as many fits. I said, this is too hard. And then my husband, he might have a panic attack in the process of like, we're all three flustered to get to this 30-minute swim appointment, swim lesson. And I canceled them. My husband's like, well, swimming is an important thing. I said, yeah, but this doesn't have to happen right now. And I am not paying X amount of dollars every month for everyone to have a panic attack because we're all crying because he's throwing a fit, and he's clearly communicating he doesn't want to leave the home. And we tried different days. When Ollie asked for it again, and we were talking about it, the weather's getting warmer and we have a pool in our neighborhood, he goes, I'm really excited to go swimming again, but Daddy told me I weigh too much for my floaties. I was like, yeah, you've reached the weight limit for the floaties. Yeah, this is true. So you'll have to stay in the shallow end and we'll have to be with you. It'll be fine. And he goes, well, couldn't you just take me back to goldfish school? And I said, yeah, we could go back to goldfish school. So everyone knows the swim school. Those suckers. Anyway, so we go to goldfish school. Shout out to you. And he asked to go there again. So we started his classes again this weekend and have a totally different experience. And it's okay. So like it has paid off to pay attention and not force things. And understanding that like it just like in seasons of life, like in motherhood too, like just listen to your kid or even listen to yourself and just like, does this have to happen right now? Why does this have to happen right now? And it's okay to take breaks from things. So we took a break from swim lessons a year ago, and heck, gosh, if it was this easy a year ago, we would have stuck with it, but he's in a different spot. He's older. So we went back to swim lessons because he asked, and he wants to swim with the big kids in the neighborhood and he wants to be able to swim on his own. So he asked for it, we listened, and we did it. But it hasn't, I always thought we always had to do things a certain way. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. Heck with that.
Yeah. What a beautiful lesson, not only for, if you're raising kids, but also for yourself. Like there is no certain way any of us have to do anything.
Absolutely. Is there anything about your motherhood journey that has been particularly easier, made easier with getting to know yourself?
That's a really good question because like you said, there are so many different seasons and phases.
So like in your postpartum, so you're most recently postpartum. So because how old is your youngest? He's what?
18.
Over 18 months. It was like, he's not quite 2. It must be over 1. I know he's over 1. So like, you're definitely still in the postpartum under 2 years. So like, is there anything that was particularly more powerful? Let's reframe the question so it's more specific. Has there been anything, since you are now an expert in human design, in this postpartum recovery than your first?
Ooh, good question. Yes, it has definitely changed not just my postpartum journey, but I think just my the family dynamics, for lack of a better word, when you are growing and changing your family unit. So I think something that I didn't do in my first postpartum journey was I didn't ask for help. I wasn't like using my voice. I wasn't trusting myself. And when I would feel those red flags, right? That bitterness, that is our not self theme as a projector. Oh, I would get so bitter. because I was doing these things. I wasn't being recognized. I wasn't being validated. I wasn't getting the help that I needed because I wasn't first recognizing it myself. I wasn't seeing it as the red flag that it was. And so this time around, I would get bitter about something and I would say, well, hold up. Did I actually wait for the invitation? Does anyone need me to do this, as a mom? If the answer is no, I can release it. And so really validating myself as a mother and then asking for the help that I needed. I mean, I came to, so quite literally like asking my spouse for help, but then I asked you for help. I know that I came to see you for
Oh, that's
Reiki.
right. That's right. You did.
So
Yeah.
that's something that I probably wouldn't have done the first time around because, I wasn't trusting the nudges that I was getting. I wasn't even aware that I had an authority or a way to make decisions. So as soon as I was able to tap into that, I became really hyper aware of the nudges I was getting and following them when it said to get help, when it said to take my child to the doctor for, whatever reason, and it turned out to be he needed something. So I think that has been the biggest shift, is trusting myself, what I need, and then actually acting upon it.
So powerful. That's so so you mentioned a few things in there that for people who are new to human design that are actually really key words to know. There is a not self theme and an inner authority. Can you give a quick definition of both of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So your not self theme, every energy type has their own not self theme. This is just essentially your red flag to say like, hold up, something is not in alignment here. So my particular not self theme is bitterness. That's just saying I am not following my strategy, which is the way you're really meant to share your energy with the world. So I'm not following that. And therefore I'm feeling bitter, which is my not self theme.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As projectors, that would be every projector's not self theme. So if you're ever feeling bitter, you need to take a pause, time out, figure out what's going on. And then, yes, we brought up authority as well. Authority is your way of making decisions. Everyone has their own authority. There are 7 total. So you can be one of 7 authorities. And again, that's just your inner compass, your inner guidance of what is telling you what you need in this moment in your motherhood journey, in any area of life.
So you mentioned that there's 7. So either the not self theme is specific per energy type. The inner authority is not specific to energy type. They could be a lot of different things.
Exactly.
For example, so you mentioned you are which one is yours?
Yeah. So just because we're both projectors doesn't mean we have the same authority. So I have an emotional authority, whereas you have a self-projected authority.
Yeah. I just wanted to make that clear. And some other key things too that are really important. So when a person does a human design reading or look at their chart, the chart has centers. There's 9 centers, and they can be defined or undefined based upon their information that they input. And then there's gates and channels, correct?
Yeah.
So, but can you explain what exactly has human design just do you think that human design, I'm going to ask a business question because there's a lot of women who listen that are entrepreneurs. So what do you think about human design as an entrepreneur allows a working mother to do business better and also balance their, I don't really like the word balance, home life and work because it's never really a balance, but it's more of a dance. But how do you think knowing that can help a working mom?
Absolutely. So like I had said, when I first discovered human design, it was absolutely necessary for me to start implementing this tool in my life to, like you said, there's never going to be a balance, but to manage everything that a mom would have on her plate. And so for anyone listening, the biggest impact that it had for me as a business owner, especially, was following my strategy and my authority. So we already touched on what your authority is, but everyone has a strategy or a way that they're meant to share their gifts with the world, basically. And why this is so important is because we, as working moms, as business owners, do not have time to try every single strategy and new trend that is out there. Like, it is just not possible. You would be running yourself into the ground. So how this had a huge impact on me was it really allowed me to release all the strategies and the tips and tricks that all the gurus were telling me to do, because I knew that it didn't really honor who I was as a person. So, for example, projectors are meant to wait for the invitation. When I really embodied that in my business, I was able to release things like spammy DMs and different strategies that just really didn't honor who I was. So I could start growing my business more efficiently in a way that did not burn me out.
Yes, learning that has been a game changer. Yes, the cold DMs, like
nobody likes them.
It don't work. Yeah, yeah, that's paid ads don't work for me either. They're just not in alignment, but Pinterest does work really great. So can you please tell us how can people get in touch with you on social media, and how can they work with you? Because I know that you offer different services. How can people work with you?
Yeah, so I am most active on Instagram, and my handle is at Her Simplified Life. And that's where I will share a lot of tips and information about human design, specifically if you're a business owner as well. But if you are wanting to dive into how you are uniquely wired for success, there's a couple of different main ways to work with me. So as you mentioned, there are human design readings. That's where I get someone's human design chart and really dive into it and address any certain pain points or any certain goals that they have. And so that's done through just a personal human design reading. And then I do have courses as well. One in particular that I know you had referenced was a productivity by design. Yay, I'm so glad to hear that. Right, because again, as working moms, we all want to do things a little bit more efficiently and productively. So why not figure it out how you are uniquely wired? I think that's your biggest efficiency hack. So those are the two main ways to work with me right now, would be through my mini course or through a human design reading.
And the human design reading doesn't have to, I'm just going to do my own little plug in here of your services. The human design reading doesn't have to be one time. It can be, but for me, I'll say whenever I book a reading with you, is to dive deeper into my chart, because there's so many aspects of the chart. You can't do everything in one setting. Oh my gosh, you could spend hours and hours and hours and hours like just like diving into it, because there's so many aspects. But like anytime that I see a pattern that comes up for me, or since I've done like hypnosis and therapy, I'll just fill out your form when I go to book a session, and I say, these are the things that I'm wanting to learn more. This is what I'm facing, and I'm wondering what aspects of my chart relate to this, so that I can learn to be better, or what are the things I need to know about myself to work through this issue. Kind of like, because it gives me an opportunity to do a permanent fix, because I have a pet peeve of doing things twice. I'm like, all right, if I'm obviously doing this mistake in these areas of my life, and it's showing up in more than 3, which had happened the last time, then I was like, this is a sign I need to pay attention to. So how can I permanently fix it? And also is I'm just in a season of life where I am just done with, what is that, like that stagnant energy of just like, I'm not being together right now. I just want to do things well. I want to do them well the first time, and I want to be of service of people. And I just want to feel better 90% of the time. So like anything that I see that can be improved, or like the shadow part of my chart, I want to learn how to manage that, so that I can just be the best form of myself. So that's what I always love about your readings, is I can be very specific about the trouble that I'm having, and then you're able to answer it so quickly. And it's like having 1,000 therapy sessions without the tears, and just like, okay. Yep, I can do that. All right. I can do that. And your just advice is always spot on and accurate, and just, it stays with me. So definitely I have actually never gone to another human design reader. I think I've gone to other human design classes just to learn, but you are everything that every mother needs to know about herself, and everyone deserves a human design reading with you. So book right away. So.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I love that. Now I'm feeling flustered because, as projectors, we like validation, but sometimes it's hard to receive, right? So thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
They're
And
so genuine and sincere. The number one thing, so if you are a projector, the number one thing you need in relationships for them to thrive, you need appreciation and recognition. And then definitely the number one way for a relationship to fizzle out for you, either a friendship or romantic or a business relationship, is for that person to take you for granted. So it's really important that those people show you appreciation. It doesn't mean they worship you, but a thank you and a sincere, oh, that you did a really great job, goes a really long way for a projector.
yes, absolutely. You're speaking right to their soul, right to their heart, right to what they need. So
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate you inviting me onto this podcast because it was so great getting to talk to you about a little bit more about my motherhood journey and how human design has impacted that.
Thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely just a joy always to speak with. And I can't wait for everyone to hear your story and hear about human design. And then for you to tell me, or my listeners to say, I loved Haley and I loved my human design. I'm sure that's going to happen a million times over.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much and hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.